looks like round 2 is going to be live. Well, right now, we're going to see what the best option Victinis has to get over a defense position Moss Station. The game has begun. Jackyomu went first with a set 1, maybe set 2, but Moss Station is there. We have a Nectar of the Gods from Victini's turn 1, getting 2 cards in hand. So it looks like we're going to have Water Heal by Victinis, which is a very potent strategy. It's very difficult to whittle it down when that card when that deck is always healing spirits thanks to Sluggle or Dratagua.
Yes, Water Heal, typically paired with Thunder, is something that we've seen kind of pop up on and off, and usually Nectar of the Gods can be a good sign of that one, since you also need cards to be able to keep up and also find your removal. But we'll see. We haven't quite seen anything that denotes that it's exactly that, but good suggestion here. I'm trying to tell what this card is that they're casting
That
out.
is Eddie. That is Eddie.
Yes.
And this is interesting because I mean, Jackyomu is in the driver's seat here. If Victini activates Eddie's effect, Jackyomu can chain Moss Stations to make it a 6 attacker.
Yes, and Jack did just that, and that's a very interesting dynamic. I don't think I've seen a Moss Station versus an Eddie yet.
This is a situation where Moss Station just wins due to its effect. Eddie can be efficient, but because it wasn't the right position. Like if the Moss Station was already an attack, then... Actually, no. Moss Station would likely just survive this no matter what, as long as the caster of Mustachian, doesn't utilize the effect. So yeah, definitely just in Jack's favor. But we have another face down set, and now we're going to see if there's going to be an.
Yep.
Okay, so it is a second expend. So I think that should be 17 spirits for Jackyomu. Spending a spirit to make it a 6 attacker so it can't get run over by Eddie, and then expending on his turn as well. So the Mustachian will be a 6 attacker going into the Eddie, but with 3 back row on Victinis, let's see how much they value the Eddie.
Yep, and also as Victini, I don't mind Jack just having to expend all those spirits in this one exchange here, because it keeps it even with the Nog that was played earlier. Ooh, and we see attack into a shield here. So Mustachian going back to hand, or Mustachian, gotta get the pronunciation right.
Yeah, it's Mustachian and Mustachian.
Mustachian.
At least that's how I've been interpreting it, just trying to determine it. But you could also say blue crab, green crab.
Yep.
But in any case, we do see that Eddie is valued by Victinis, utilizing a Shield of Achilles to get that out. And there is the Foamy. I am so excited to see Foamy. This is a card that we have not mentioned yet, but also a card that is really potent in this meta, Eagle.
Yes, with the reduction of removal, there are less options to clear the Foamy without getting off its effect. This is a personal favorite of mine, and I'm so happy that we're finally getting to see it get widespread play. A great consistency tool and utility tool for water.
This card can cast out an Eddie and switch and Eddie can switch itself to attack. Cast out a Galaxy with Misenchanted, so it's the 5 defense. Right there, you can cast out a Dratagua and get a heal out immediately. Foamy is a battle searcher. That card is from... It always needs to be respected. Base set is a powerful set. We see the Earth Spirits being spent from Jackyomu, typically alluding to the Earthquake as well. So we'll see what he does on his next turn. But now we have... Estrabit!
Ooh.
Show me Bunny!
No, Misenchanted Blue Crab here. I wonder what Jack's playing out. Could it be like maybe a Thunder Ascension play here?
That is very curious. So he just wants it to be sat, but now if a second Eddie hits the board, what exactly is going to... Like, you have no defense. I think it's going to be curious to see how this goes for Jackyomu if he survives this turn with the Mustachian. But with 4 face-down runes, I think it's pretty likely.
Absolutely. It is just curious because that implies that Jack is setting up for some sort of play where he needs a Thunder Spirit on board, because there's no cards that inherently don't... Like, you need to have a Thunder Spirit on your Elestral to play around.
Yeah, and if it was Arculus, he could have just cast it out thanks to the Eddie and Foamy both being in attack. But moving on to Victini's turn, we do have the Dratagua being played here, healing up by 2, and this is becoming a water board that you just don't want to let water casters set up. No attack, no play over the Mustache, so it does survive the turn. Jack is now going to... Let's see what Jack is planning with this Misenchanted Mustache.
Yeah. It's his turn. Let's see if he does it, or maybe he might just stall for a turn. It very well could just be he's hoping to draw into the Arcolith and set up that play preemptively, just in case Victini started switching his Elestrals to defense to play around the Arcolith.
I mean, but again, if it was Arcolith in his hand, it could have just been cast out. Is that an expend the draw?
Yeah.
Expending of a, I cannot tell that.
Zapper.
That's a Zapper, yeah.
Yeah.
What is Jack's deck?
That's what I'm wondering. The only thought is that, again, he was just hoping he could draw Arcolith for turn and then ascend into it. But, hey, maybe he's on something very interesting. I mentioned Sonicore earlier. We haven't seen Sonicore in a while, but in the first set meta, that was a common deck in Mostation, or I keep saying it wrong, but Blue Crab was used to be able to more easily set up to ascend into that Sonicore.
Huh. Well, I mean, right now, we do have a Strabit being out right now. When Victini's is already up like this. So while Victini's is up on board presence, Victini's also doesn't have a way to get over this Mustache, so they're likely digging for something right there. What options they have available to them, I'm not sure. Maybe a second Eddie, which would get over the Mustache, but then you got to get over the back row as well. So this is a battle of a wall, like just wall v wall, and they're going to have to start tearing each other down. We have the Elestral wall for Victini and the back row wall with 6 defense Mustachian on Jack's side. We're going to be here for a while, Eagle. So let's see how much time these casters spend of their 42 minutes left in round 2.
Yeah, that's the important thing. You don't want to be caught with a low timer in the late game here. And since both of them are on water stuff, likely these could be some slow games, slow grindy games, especially with so much less removal in the format now. It will really depend on a few key cards in the deck or someone trying to progress the board state, probably for things to start shaking up here.
You got to also worry in this situation, what's stopping Victini's from just consistently re-enchanting Dratagua?
Absolutely. Great way to heal up on spirits. And then if Jack's just trying to dig for a card, that's not going to bode well for him with Victini just having a massive spirit advantage here.
It looks like we got a specific cut there from Jackyomu to Victini's right there. But yeah, like what's stopping him from just healing up consistently? If there is, rock in a hard place. This is going to be a major play for 2 reasons. 1, we're going to see what Jack values more, the defense of Mustachian or the back row that is targeted. 2, we're going to have a Curubus coming out here as well, which is going to be really potent to just pop anything immediately or just run over things. And 3, looks like the
PTA. That's a good hit.
That's a very good hit for Victini's. Do we have the Ascension from Eddie?
Looks like it. He's going into his deck. But that is huge because now, I mean, Jack's got a bunch of back row, but Victini's is in a great position because he can start forcing that back row. And in the event Jack uses a shield here, because about the only way he can stop an attack, that Curubus has plenty of targets to just regular ascend on top of Shiny Victini's very next turn to just keep pressuring that Mustachian and the back row.
Yes, the pressure right now is definitely on Jack because now his back row is going to be forced one way or another. If it is shield, that just means you got to deal with it. I mean, I would easily ascend over the Estratman for Curubus again. Just keep that non-attack on a two ascension is insane.
Yes, and if I remember the Curubus's effect correctly, there's also always a play even with the spirits on board right now, but if Shiny Victini also has maybe a Poseidon in hand, could start utilizing the Curubus's effect just to get rid of the Blue Crab just right away and start putting in a ton of pressure on the spirit deck. It looks like Jack might have conceded game 1.
Was that but Victini's picked up his deck first. Was that a concession? Hopefully we can get a confirmation there, but so we're getting word.
Oh.
This is crazy. Victini's dropped their deck, and that resulted in a game loss for Victini's.
Oh, that is unfortunate because Victini was very much in the better position there, but just that one misstep got them an automatic game loss, putting them down a game. That has to hurt.
So will we see another opening Nectar of the Gods into Dratagua? That'd be a pretty good opening play for him.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. I mean, we really don't know. Will it be just another Mustachian? Oh, Astrabbit. That's a great start. Seen a lot of these rabbits here, but not too surprising.
I think what's interesting to note here is that Jack is going first.
Astrabbit doesn't really give you much information when it's probably the best Elestral in the game here. And then, as I mentioned in last round, the Misenchanted Mustachian does suggest that Jack might be doing some Thunder stuff, but it doesn't really give too much information. That 6 defense is just really good.
I would love to see Sonic Core come out. Like you mentioned that earlier during the break, but yeah, I would love to see Sonic Core be revealed. Eddie! We love Eddie on the Strabbit. But will we see a Gorgon's Gaze or something to protect it? Yes, we do.
We do.
So I always argue that there's room to save your Gorgon's Gaze for the attack declaration. That way your opponent feels confident in the attack. They may not make any of the plays and they just set the cards and attack because that essentially ends their turn. Now that we know that Strabbit is still an option, there's a room for Victinis to drop something like an Earthquake or something like that. But it looks like that's not going to be the case, just a set and pass. Jackyomu saves his Strabbit for this turn, and we're going to see a Leviathan into an Eddie. Love that.
Opponent's Eddie can switch Victini's Eddie to defense and start attacking over it. I think that's a great shout out on the timing. Again, just on cast Gorgon's Gaze. I think that's a great call out as well, because even though this isn't highly probable with the limits to Zeus specifically here, and potentially Demeter, but the Gorgon's Gaze for the attack declaration also means that you can bait to get more information on your opponent if they have that card.
You know what? That makes sense. I understand that. We do have the Gorgon's Gaze on the Eddie activation to protect their own. So now we're going to see if there's another Rock and a Hard Place being cast out. Instead, we have the first play of Spectrus right now. Spectrus being a card that wait a minute. Oh, okay, so we're definitely dealing with the Draking deck from Victinis here with the Spectrus.
Looks like it.
But Poison Tick Arrow is going to lower Spectrus down to 3, making it to where it cannot run, well, 2 technically, making it to where it cannot run over the Eddie. But it should be able to crash if I recall correctly. No. It would only go up by 1, so it won't be able to crash. So yeah, this is just a Spectrus.
This is an awkward board state for Victinis here because sure, Eddie can still crash with Eddie, but then you're just wiping out your own board. But do you want to leave up the Eddie on Jack's board? I don't know. It looks like he made the choice to leave it up there.
Yeah, it's not a great start for Victinis. There's a lot of presence on Jack's board. And we have a reenchantment on a Strabbit. Does finagle with the face down a bit. Victinis choosing not to choose anything. So now we have a top 3 choice from a Strabbit. Will we see an Ambrosia to spend off of the extra spirit on a Strabbit as well? That would be a pretty good use of the spirit and something that's commonly done as well. Although it will be done pretty early in the clash.
Oh yeah, and even if it's just picking up something like a poison tipped arrow, that can also be a great siphon off the Strabbit to just pull that spirit off, and now you only have to expend the 1 from your spirit deck at the end of turn. So there's plenty of options. But ooh, a shield here, just getting that Eddie back to hand. I don't know if you feel too great about that though, just because now you have to make sure you're keeping that in mind as you progress your board state, that at any moment, Jack can just drop the Eddie and potentially swing over whatever you just played.
Yeah, a known Eddie in hand is pretty scary. Jotagua is going to be coming out to heal Victinis, definitely potent, but the Eddie's already in hand. So that Jotagua might as well just be in attack position right now. We are going to see a heal though. I wonder if we're also going to see a Nectar just to help Victinis dig into something, but this board state from Victinis is not the same as we saw in game 1.
Not at all. I think if you're Victinis here, you want to find that rock and a hard place. I think that's the only, the best thing you can hope for, and the best reason to protect your Eddie here is if you have that play lined up, because at that point you're pressuring either one of Jack's 2 back row or the right. But nope, we just see a pass here into Jack's Jotagua. Oh. No. Oh, looks like we're trying to figure out exactly if it's too late for Jack to take that back. I don't think Jack meant to grab that card.
Yeah, I mean, what would you cast out here? Either the Eddie or the Jotagua. I think that there's room for putting out the Eddie and just taking out Victini's Jotagua.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. Would you rather try to keep pressuring Victinis, or would you rather try to stabilize yourself and just kind of get into a stabilizing war, knowing that you've got the Eddie in hand that you can spring on the opponent at any turn, at any moment?
Yeah, but I mean, still, you're going to need it sometime. You're going to have to, we're either going to get it now or later. So, I mean, and especially since they're all 4 stats, their biggest stats being 4. It's kind of tough to say. I think there's room for putting the Eddie on board and just scaring your opponent with the idea of if you cast Rock in a Hard Place, I'm casting Rock in a Hard Place, or well, I can potentially ascend into Kiribis. But we do see the Eddie come out, so they do agree that Eddie can go out. But now Victinis has the knowledge of the Drutagwa in hand as a second Gorgon's Gaze meets the Eddie, spending what's that second spirit?
I think they're both Leviathan. They're just different artworks. I missed that one because that one on top is the Celebration Shatterstars one.
Artwork, yeah.
Gorgeous card.
Really good artwork. Yeah.
Yes. But this is a very interesting board state. Jack did get the back row out of the way, but at the same time, Victinis is starting to build up a board and starting to potentially stabilize, but still needs a much bigger push. But is deterred from playing the rock in a hard place at current.
So now Victini on the draw, looking to really establish their board because board presence is definitely on Jack's favor. But Estrava is definitely the way to do it. Is there a face down PTA? Looks like there is not. So PTA so Estrava is going to be able to dig Victinis into something, and hopefully for Victinis, one of them is rocking a hard place and start getting some offense going.
Hopefully, but still has to deal with that Eddie on the opponent's side of the board. I mean, you could, in theory, cast Rock in a hard place, get rid of one of those back row, ascend up into Kiribis, and then use your own Kiribis to pop the opponent's Kiribis and heal back too. But is that the most ideal play? Is that really the position that you want to try to maneuver yourself into if you're Victinis?
I think either way, the best way to figure that out is to use Rock in a hard place to target the back row and the Eddie. Because then it puts them in a point of how much, do I want to ascend? If I don't want to ascend, then maybe I'll just let the Eddie go, which lets you know that Kiribis is likely not being played in the game, which isn't ideal, but is at least depth knowledge. And in another case, Ambrosia coming out as well. We have, in the other side, do you want to just let your opponent freely get out the Kiribis as well? Because we didn't see a poison arrow on the Strabit. But maybe that's Jack saying, I value the PTA for something bigger than the Estrava. There's a lot of nuances here between the casters. But we do have the healing of 3. I missed the spirits. Hopefully you saw them. But we do have a healing of 3 for Victinis.
Sorry, Ken. I missed some of those spirits. But very much right. I mean, you could read the lack of PTA on the Astrobot as potentially Jack saying, I don't have my own Kiribis. So if you go for that Rock on a hard place play, I'm the one losing out here. But it looks like it's back on Jack's turn here. So we'll see what he's got queued up. We still really haven't seen that much information from what Jack's on. I mean, he very well could just be on a simple, just efficient Earth Thunder deck. But maybe he's got something interesting in the wings that we will get to see shortly.
We have another cast out here. That is Boombat. Okay, Boombat. It looks like the I can't tell the artwork actually. It might be the Stellar.
It is the Stellar one, the promo from Founders Edition. But
yes, everyone who played Elestrals from the very beginning has that card. I have mine, and it looks great. Also, side note, did you know that the artwork for Boombat from the Imperial starter deck is different?
I did. It's such a unique thing that Elestrals did early on, and I hope we get to see some more of it now. I mean, we got plenty of alternate arts for all the other sets, but I guess now that all the star deck cards are in the main set, less likely to see that, but I thought it was really cool.
So we do have Boombat taking out the Estrava. We have Eddie crashing into Eddie. We now have a defensive board state with Jack sitting on 2. This is definitely his game in control right now. Victinis, though, does have a Drutagwa on board, which means that could ascend into a Kiribis or a Kiribis or a Draki, but instead we see Galaxy come out. Love this card. Also making Drutagwa a 4 attacker, but neither one of them can get over the Estrava on board. There's also value in having 2 Elestrals on board. Attack position Estrava. Wait a minute. Attack position Water Estrava. Oh, it's a 5 attacker. It gets over to the Drutagwa.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, there's also a line where you just crash the galaxy and try to simplify it, but I guess at this point Jack's just telling Victinis, crash the Astrabbit, I dare you.
This is the joy and the glory of Elestrals. Utilizing the elemental differences on board to make your Thunder Elestral better. You essentially just made it an entire threat right there. So it looks like we may have a crash here from the on the attack position Astrabbit, but no, we just leave it in attack position. Is that where you would leave that Eagle?
Not at all. I would start trying to pressure the opponent. At some point, you need to turn the game in your favor. And a lot of the times, when you're just passing on bodies, you're telling your opponent you have the option to, if you've got maybe like a stadium or some way, maybe Jack finds a Zeus or something, now you gain the advantage here because I didn't take out your Lestral to now take out mine.
You got to think about the mental damage being done to Victinis too, having such a commanding game one, but losing to a technical decision. And now being in a situation where you're just trying to build up your board. Another reenchantment of the Astrabbit here. I think there's an argument to have re-enchanted the attack position one, just to A, have your spirits spread out, and B, have the attack position option available to you. But, you know, either or there, either or. But we do have a top three search, and I wonder, at this point, I think it's safe for us to assume that Jack's deck is just a good stuff deck. But I wonder what the main condition of play there is.
Yeah, definitely, because right now we've just seen some really solid water. We just seen Astrabbit, the Blue Crab, and then Eddie? I think that's all we've seen from Jack. But yeah, I mean, just might be trying to play out games here, just grind it out and get himself into just a much better position resource-wise. Yeah,
but all we're seeing here is just, 5-stack go bird. If you guys don't know, sometimes a game can be won on just 5 stacks. Is that a cryoblast?
That is a cryoblast, and this is what I'm talking about. Now you just lose your Spectrus when cryoblast really wasn't doing much against the Galaxy. You could have crashed the Astrabbit and been in a position where that cryoblast wouldn't have done anything. Like, you would have been able to keep your Galaxy on board here.
Does crash the Astrabbit into the Galaxy as well. So now 3 spirits are on board for Jack. With the Astrabbit sitting there. Victinis has nothing but a face-down rune. Definitely not an ideal position for Victinis, but let's see if they can still find a way out. Is that an expend to draw?
That is an expend to draw. You do not want to be doing that from this position here, because Jack's got a body on board, and while, again, Victini's up on spirits in Spirit deck, Jack does still have 3 on board. We can't discount those spirits here.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage just threatening you right now. So that, and the Galaxy as well. This is definitely going to hurt Victinis, and if that face down is potent, even a tsunami would be valuable here because you definitely lose less from allowing it all to go through. But they are going through there, and the Owloon goes down. An immediate hit from 10 spirits to 6. Man.
Yeah, I mean, Jack had nothing to lose here. He's up on board. Victinis had to expend to draw last turn. Even if that Astrabbit gets shielded, and that is a loss of spirits on Jack's end, he's still at least pressuring getting the rest of the cards out of Victini's hand, capitalizing on his better position here.
If you're able to re-enchant the Astrabbit on board, I would probably do that right now. Oh, wait, no, this is still... Oh, we have... Wait a minute.
Got the Drakid coming out. Do we finally
have
the
I have to ask this again. How does Drakid apply to Galaxy?
Ooh, good question. So... I'll actually need to look up the specific wording again.
I want to believe Galaxy will remain a 5 attacker and Drakid will remain a 2 attacker, I believe. But now it doesn't matter. Rock in a hard place is going to be played there. So what would you target here? The Astrabbit with the spirits or the Galaxy? Oh, no, actually, no, you have to target the Galaxy. Because otherwise, Drakid comes out here either misenchanted, being a 7/4, or in defense position properly enchanted.
Yeah, that's a tough call here. I mean, regardless, I think Jack's going to call the back row. Unfortunately, we do not know which Elestral that Victini's called there to be able to say, but the important thing here is just getting out that Drakking, because sure, the Galaxy does make it awkward, but at least Victini's has one of 2 options. They can either misenchant the Drakking to attack over the Galaxy, or regular enchant it to be able to attack over the Astrabbit, and then misenchant the Astrabbit with Bar to crash the Galaxy.
And it looks like it's going to be properly enchanted because the Drakking was placed in defense. So, opting for the defensive play here. I think there's value in going for the attack, but at the same time, with the back row that Jack has on the field, maybe it's better to just bolster your defense.
Maybe, but at the same time, Victinis has not been putting any pressure on Jack.
Wait a minute!
What spirit was that?
I think that was a Leviathan.
Well, that makes sense. That's properly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it is properly chanted in defense. I'm pretty sure that's Leviathan from Daybreak. So
yes.
Yeah, that does make sense. But now we're just in a hold the. How do you hold the line with only 2 spirits in your spirit deck?
I don't think it's possible, unfortunately. But maybe Victinis has something up their sleeve. I do think that likely it would have been a shield and back row, but it might have just been better to have a Hail Mary play to try to answer Jack's board and just hope that they're bluffs or just cards that are not like tsunamis that aren't very useful here. I
mean, fortunately for Victinis, Poison Tip Arrow was not in the back row. Otherwise, I would have ended this game. I don't think we saw Poison Tip Arrow at all. Is that an Earth Astrabit? I missed the.
Spirit. It is a Zaptor. I believe it is the Frostfall Zaptor.
Properly enchanted Astrabit. We are going to search up 3, and that I think that's also 3 Astrabits that Jack has seen. This is just a good stuff deck.
Yep, it definitely is. Also, tying back to the Drakid on the Galaxy question, I just looked up the wording on the Drakid. That is correct. There would be no change in either stats because it goes off of the base attack stats, which Galaxy is 2 and Drakid is 2. So it wouldn't result in any changes in either of those Celestial stats. I believe Galaxy just swaps stats. We can discuss this in the wrap-up afterwards. We should focus back on the game here. But Jack just kind of walling up with these Astrabits, though it looks like the Draking was switched back to attack here. Trying to figure out what's going on. Did Victinis just scoop?
No, I think that's a scoop. Yeah, revealing the Poison Tip Arrow face down as well, not having a proper opportunity to release that. Tsunami Gaze
and there's a shield.
Was set for Jack as well. That was just, man, what an unfortunate game for Victinis.